I've been in Missouri for 10 years. I've never seen a hummingbird. At the time, it was like 10 years. I'm like, I've never seen a hummingbird before in Missouri. I've seen dragonflies. If dragonflies in my backyard, but I've never seen these flying things, whatever they were, which was weird because
Right.
they they had you could distinctly tell that whatever these things were, they were pretty big because you could tell the flapping of the wing looked like a bird, like an actual like a big bird.
My name is Jerry, and I left MAGA. Welcome or welcome back to my channel, all you guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I like that. I'm gonna start adding it in. Anyway, back on May 29th, my buddy Justin and I, we had this fun little conversation, and I'm finally getting the brain space and the time to converge to be able to just handle this real quick. But it was a really fun conversation. It didn't go how I thought it was going to go, but then again, I'm not sure what the expectations were. Justin and I always have a good time together with our conversations. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I did.
Hold on a second here, guys. Hold on. I'll work this out here eventually. Eventually. Here we go. Hey, there we are. Look at that. Look at that. Look how that works, huh? Look how that works. Let's turn this down just a tiny bit. I'm a little on the hot side, I think. Let's go on. Let's see here. Turn that desktop up a little bit. Okay. Okay. I think we're here. Can I get a 5x5 in the chat if you guys can hear and see us at this moment? That'd be great. If I need to go up or if my guest, GI Wingnut. How you doing, man? Welcome in, buddy. Welcome in. Welcome in.
I'm doing good, man. Still trying to get like this acreage all lined out. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got to make sure all the windows are open properly. Thank you, Sage. I appreciate that. Welcome in, everybody. There is G Dog, Sage, OD Flippa. Let's see here. We got I think Zombie 5 snuck in there. I'm not sure. But anyways, welcome in, everybody. Appreciate being here. All the lurkers so far. And everyone on the other platforms, welcome in. I can see the numbers. I know you're there. So if you're here to listen, fantastic. That's awesome. So, okay, well, before we get into the topic here, how you doing? Well, I haven't talked to you in a while since the wedding, actually.
Yeah, since
Uh,
the wedding,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah. So, how you
Man,
doing?
life is good.
Fantastic. Good to
It's
hear.
it's it's kind of frenetic. I mean, that's just how my life is. So, but there's some frustrations along the way. Anytime you're trying to start something new, and but we're trying to get the homeless outreach at the church kind of refocused and a bit more expanded.
Mhm.
So that's fun.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
um,
Got to have the funds and the bodies to facilitate certain places, and
well, and
yeah.
that's the thing. We have a lot of resources available here in St. Louis. It's just we're only networked with two of them currently,
Mm.
and so I've got this. Let's see, where is it? Right here. I have this book, 59 pages long. Yeah. Start here. It's a directory of services in St. Louis,
Oh, okay.
and so it's like, well, you can't really. You can see there's a lot of information on every page,
Oh, yeah. Looks like it.
and all the different categories. There's in the clothing and housing category. There's a company. Let's see, they're called Dress for Success. They do clothing and job preparation.
So there's a lot of reaching out to the community and networking, that
Right,
kind of stuff.
right.
Yeah, setting up appointments for appointments and whatnot. And yeah, I can
And
I can see how that'd be very daunting task. A tall order, I'd say, not daunting, but a tall order to try and get
well,
all these people coordinated together
and,
and stuff.
and Wednesday I had a video slated. I finally got to it today because my partner's sister was in town yesterday, so there's no video production done on those days. It's
Right.
just impossible.
Yeah.
but
I know how that goes.
but
Yeah, I know how that goes.
Wednesday, I was getting ready to sit down and make a video, and got a message from the church, and there was this voicemail. Somebody had called in, and they were looking for some help. And the staff meeting was getting ready to start, and the church secretary, who's in this going into the staff meeting, she's like, should we have somebody call? How do we handle this? I'm like, look, I'm getting ready to head out to go to the store. I'll swing by the church, and I'll just handle this. And he was like, yeah, this is what we call building a bicycle while riding it.
Hmm?
So I just popped over there. I called the gal back,
That's
and
pretty accurate. Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it was just she needed some personal items, a little bit of toilet paper, and either some bleach or some vinegar for some cleaning. And she has her grandkids and wasn't going to have any money for food until Friday. So I took her a bag of groceries and some cleaning stuff, and threw in a few little extras that Amy threw in before she popped into the staff meeting. It was worth not making a video. It was worth delaying the video.
Fantastic. 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 All right, excellent. Everything's good on our side here. I'm all healed up from my appendix being removed and
Right on.
that fiasco. Then next week we get to go on our honeymoon. So, right now we're just kind of getting ready, cleaning stuff around the house, doing last minute things before we, making sure people our contacts are supposed to be coming over when they're supposed to come over. And my mom's coming up again, and she's going to be she's going to be watching the dogs and coordinating with the neighbors to make sure the dogs can get out and the chickens are fed and put away and all that kind of fun stuff. So, just, yeah, and then looking for a house. Looking for a house. That's
Oh, that's always fun.
that's a little more stressful than I thought it would be, but
Uh-huh.
nothing I can't handle.
Especially in
So
the current market.
yeah. It's a bit shaky, but I think we're just gonna dive in. So um,
Out of curiosity, have you looked into doing financing through Veterans United Home
no,
Loans?
that's I have the app on my phone. Yep. So
Good man.
yeah, we're gonna get out
Smart
of
man.
we're gonna get out of Boone County. We're gonna get out into Callaway or Cooper County, maybe
Right on.
north, maybe a little north. So we'll have to see. But we're looking to stay within 30-minute drive for Beth because she still has to come to work in Columbia. But
Right.
we want to get out in the country and away from the city, kind of.
I totally get it.
So
I
we're
totally get it.
yeah. So the podcasting thing, I'm not sure how that's going to work out. We're just going to have to put some feelers out there and see what it does as far as maybe more uploading or am I able to get an actual solid connection, all that kind of fun stuff, but we'll have to figure that out when we get there. So um,
What? No Starlink?
well, it may, if I have to I will, if I have to I will.
Well,
So
aren't you afraid those lasers might zap your computer?
I'm pretty sure with the amount of devices and chips I have around, if one was going to blow up, I'm pretty much dead. So
Oh, well,
yeah.
that was a nod to that Ashley St. Clair thing that she was spreading around, that allegedly Elon told her about using lasers on his satellites to change the votes or something. I don't know.
Oh, I remember. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. The space. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know about that. So,
That's right up there with aliens and flying saucers.
well, the thing is that you can use lasers to transmit a bunch of information, and it's not uncommon to do so. We have it in virtually infrared as a form of laser beams. You
Hmm.
have the CD player, the Blu-ray, any gaming console, yeah, out there, unless
Right.
it's out of a static drive, is all running off of a laser beam essentially. So, and it's it's
All
data.
yeah,
Yeah, it's transferring
all
data the faster than we can
right.
blink.
The
So
all laser is a beam of coherent light frequency.
yeah, highly focused. It's just It's just they, instead of having like a
Yeah.
flashlight, you've got, now that the big mag lights, when you twist the tops to kind of focus the beam in. That's all it is, people. That's all it is. But in
Right.
very, very uh,
That's that.
infinite amount of information. I mean, apparently in some
Well,
cases,
that's why they use lasers for data transfer on fiber optic cable,
yeah, yeah,
because you can use different frequencies of
hmm,
light to transfer different strings of data down the same fiber.
yeah, yeah, yep. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
Really cool stuff.
it is really cool. It is really cool. Um, so let's go ahead and get into this. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you lie on this, and this may take us into, I got you for a couple hours, so it may take us into different aspects of conversation. But um, I clearly, according to the show card here, is I don't think aliens are real.
I
I
don't
don't
think so either.
I don't think the perception or the what we've been taught or told that aliens are, that they come from
Right.
way out of space, in the infinite space of nothing and just a pure vacuum and planets. And I've got to go. We have telescopes that can see 44 billion miles, but we can't map the bottom of the ocean yet.
Right.
So there's certain aspects of this that have come up in media, and the stuff that I've seen so far is things that we've seen in the past. Much like the Epstein files that first came out in phase one last year in February, when I was looking into it, I was like, this is stuff that I watched on Ancient Aliens 10 years ago. Like what's new about this? So there's some videos that are better, that are higher quality now. Instead of the fuzzy tic tac, it's a less fuzzy tic tac.
Right.
Or it's a stormtrooper in the sky, a balloon stormtrooper in the
Well,
sky.
right. Do you remember the jelly bean,
Oh,
the jelly bean UFO that was flying over that base in the Middle East?
which one?
There,
There's been a couple
there,
different.
there were people that were talking about, oh, it looks like a trash bag, and some were like, oh, it could be a one of those. Like, I looked at it and my brain jumped to, oh, Star Wars droid. And so I went and looked at, just got on YouTube real quick,
Hmm.
and I found a video clip. It's about a minute and a half long or so, of this guy flying an RC controlled uh, Star Wars drone around in his living room. And I'm like, I know how to edit video. I know how to do overlays and stuff using OBS and DaVinci.
Hmm.
Um, wow.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things out there that have been that look super super fake, including the moon landing, like the Artemis videos that were out there. They looked totally fake to me. You have footage from India that's clearly fake, from China and from Japan. All looks like it's CGI stuff from the mid 19 to the from mid 2000s, where we just
Oh,
what I'm saying. So it's when I look at these things about our space program and aliens, and when I look at, again, I want to make it perfectly clear here, guys. This is where I came from at one point. I was totally convinced that aliens were real. I was totally
right.
convinced that we live on a giant spinning ball hurling through space. And that the aliens come from a bazillion gazillion miles, and that Carl Sagan's journey through the cosmos, the billions and billions and billions of miles, was all true. I came from that until I started trying to figure it to make sense of it, until I tried to figure it out and see if there's legitimacy to it beyond the fact that I have to have this certain level of knowledge in order to understand the cosmos. So we have this massive leak from our government now, or disclosure, whatever people want to call it. Spielberg came out with the movie Disclosure Day, I think it is, and He also did E.T. back in the 80s. We have MIB 1, 2, 3, and 4. You've got all the Predator movies. There's all kinds of stuff inundated from the 1940s when they started having black and white films and written and radio. Orwell's World of Worlds. In 1942, I think it was, when it came out on the radio and scared a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So we've had, for a long time, our culture has been inundated with this notion that there are beings outside, extraterrestrials, if you will, not
Right.
from this area, this land, this realm, or whatever.
One of the things that I find incredibly interesting about the UFO talk coming out of the Trump administration and the preachers and such that follow Trump, that support him, is that back in the 1950s, William Branham, that guy,
Yeah.
that guy I'm always talking about,
Mm-hmm.
was preaching that UFOs were going to facilitate the rapture, and that the saved would be caught up in what we would call low Earth orbit,
Yeah.
or low altitude UFOs, but the elite would be snatched directly to the mothership and given their glorified bodies first.
That's interesting because that kind of sounds like Heaven's Gate, where behind a comment there was this mothership that they, and ultimately I guess they had to sacrifice themselves in order to their spirits could be released to go to the mothership.
Right. But in this case, it's not.
Doesn't this sound like a little hermeticism in there somewhere? I mean, it's
a little bit.
It's
in Branham's case, he was saying, "Don't be afraid of the UFOs."
Well, I mean, that makes sense.
They're agents of God, and they're going to be the tools that are going to be used. You might not see them; they're out there, they're real, but they're piloted by angels. And then I saw somebody mention,
oh boy,
Tucker Carlson a while ago. Wasn't it J.D. Vance that was saying they were demons?
I
mean, the Catholics have very different views about this.
Maybe he was, but but Hazel Eyes, I hope she's out there. She sent me a video on Dr. Stephen Greer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that name.
I'm familiar with,
and he's been in Big Disclosure. Goes out to some ranch, I think out in the north, and there's a one out in, I think it's a SETI ranch out in northwestern of America, and then there's one down in New Mexico, I think.
There's
Arizona,
one
maybe.
Frog Ranch out there in Utah.
Yeah, there's another one too. There's places out here where Greg has gone, and bring people out there, and they're supposed to have these experiences and stuff like that. But when I was watching specifically at a timestamp, no, it wasn't that. It was I'm sorry, it was Slug Trail who sent me this video. He told me it was a 2 hour and like 25-minute video. At the hour and 59-minute mark, he said, "Take a look at this." I'm like, okay. So I go to that. I watched the 5 minutes prior because I wanted to get some context. And so he was so the interviewer asked Dr. Greer if he had any pictures, and he's like, "Yeah, I thought I sent them to you already." And so he brings out his phone and got him distracted. He was slightly distracted, and so he had a Freudian slip and called the aliens demons instead of aliens. And so I'm like, is that because I've heard this before, where the aliens, especially within the hardcore Christian community, that aliens are just demons disguised.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the church I grew up in, Satan was just another personification, or Santa was just another personification.
Oh, Satan.
We didn't call him Santa Claus; we called him Satan Claus.
Satan Claus.
Satan Claus.
Hell, you might as well had Krampus on your celebrating Krampus.
I think they would have been more scared of Krampus than they were of Santa Claus.
Right, probably. Probably. So yeah,
Wild times, man.
Yeah, very very interesting. So when I came when I started in the looking at aliens from early sci-fi when I was a kid. And then when I
Yeah,
was able to gain access to the library, I'd always go to the 00 section and look at the Bigfoot, the aliens, the Loch Ness monster, all that kind of cryptozoology stuff. All that kind of stuff really got me going because it wasn't like anything I'd ever seen before. It wasn't like anything that anybody was really talking about on a regular basis. Most people were concerned about the weather or the sports ball or whatever it is. I'm like, what about this stuff, guys? What about this stuff? This is like where are these stories coming from? So I've had a long time of indoctrination, if you will, um, of the alien agenda. We'll just put it that for lack of better terms.
right.
And anybody can do a quick Google search and type in alien series, and you'll find probably 100 different shows that talk about aliens, talk about reptilians or some sort, or they talk about Northmen or insectoids, or uh, as some people have called them, they've called them the Oompa Loompas. They also look at Oompa Loompas. You had Corey Good for a while talk about the blue avians or the space birds, space bluebirds, and that he finally came out and said all that shit is fake. All his story and all his 20-year back stuff was completely fake. So he just made up the entire story. But then you have people who are more credible, who are like Wilcox. Um, he just not Graham Wilcox. That's Graham Hancock. Wilcox just died a couple weeks ago, I think, of a heart attack or an aneurysm or something like that. He was really big into this disclosure stuff as well. What did he know? I have no idea. That also links him with the scientists, the 20 some odd scientists that have gone missing throughout.
Okay, I'm glad you brought them
So
up
you know what I'm saying. So there's
because
like
when that story came up, I'm like, oh wait, what? Hold up, what's going on here? And then there was a gal at the Phillips Research Lab working for Air Force Research Laboratory at Kirtland Air Force Base. It used to be the Air Force Weapons Lab. It's now Phillips Research Lab. Um, if I'm not mistaken, that's the young lieutenant that I had dinner with one night, and was no more than that. But she was one of the project leads there at the weapons lab while I was working in the supply office. And because I had an electronics background, we could speak directly. I understood what she was working on,
mm,
and it was high energy lasers, right?
mm-hmm.
And anyway, I think she's the same gal that took over uh, Phillips, but the scientist that disappeared from Albuquerque was one of the other young engineers that was working there at Kirtland when I was there back in '83 and '84.
Really.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't be 100% for sure, but her name sounded familiar, and her expertise was definitely something I interacted with, and I was like, oh snap, what's going on here?
Right, and
Um,
it makes you wonder because these people had they were specialists in their field, if
yes,
you will, and all of them were specialists in they were just a lab tech that happened to be working in the lab of
no,
X,
no,
Y, and
yeah,
Z. They
I mean
were
we're
head
talking,
of departments, head of labs, people who
yeah.
had spent their lives basically writing the textbooks to certain industries of physics and stuff like that. So very, very, very smart people, and it makes you
Now,
wonder.
something else to keep in mind. Those radio signals that got the whole MUFON thing started.
I thought that
Those
was a
those
CIA op, to be honest.
those radio signals that were picked up in Albuquerque.
The WoW signal.
No, no, not the WOW signal. There was a guy that he ended up being one of the founders of MUFON, but he picked up some transmissions and had determined that they were alien tech. And come to find out, uh, it was that was in '81, and I got there in '83. But yeah, it was Office of Special Investigations (OSI)
Hmm.
working with, I think, the weapons lab, and I'm not sure who else that put out those bogus signals, because we had some kind of tech that was flying over the base. Now, I never heard anything. I never saw any like really bizarre maneuvers, but I saw things flying over the base I couldn't explain. But I worked for the Air Force Weapons Lab. I didn't ask some questions. I expected certain things to be a little
Right.
weird, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. There's just certain things that you don't question or ask.
Well,
You
when
might
you're working
disappear.
on advanced weapons systems, yeah, you just expect weird shit to happen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No stopping it over here on Rumble. How you doing? Welcome in, everybody on Rumble. Yeah, he mentions Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar was another one of those people that allegedly worked in Area 51 and had obtained tech or video footage of a live alien and a flying craft, and had said that he had been working on some anti gravitational
Electric
device,
gravity.
yeah, something like that,
Like,
and then he
yeah,
would constantly
I
fly out
first,
of Vegas and into Area 51, and
I,
for
I
years, I
first
guess.
became aware. I first became aware of these guys back in the '90s on Art Bell's show.
Yeah, yeah. Art Bell. Gotta give a shout out to Art Bell for really really cutting a path for a lot of us for many years, doing it, slinging out hard on the radio. And no mistakes, everything live. There's that's he. It was raw.
I,
You didn't you had
I,
screeners. You didn't have barely any technology, but he made
I,
it. He did it.
yeah, he did it, but he also gave us Alex Jones.
Well, again, early Alex Jones, I think was okay.
Yeah,
As he became more popular and started selling his vitamins, I think at that point,
yeah,
yeah, I think the credibility of him kind of went away at that point because, you know, once you start selling a product that he doesn't make, I know he doesn't make the capsules. I know he does not sitting there putting little powder in the
right.
capsules in the lab. I know he's not doing that. So I can't really support him. I question when people are pushing their product that they don't actually make themselves. If they make a product and push it themselves, I have no problem with that. But if they're pushing someone else's product, and that's someone else's now paying you instead of like people out there, if they give me donations, that's because my audience gives me donations, not because
Right.
I have a sponsor. I have to hold on, guys. Let's go to our sponsor. No, that's bullshit. I can't stand that stuff. But anyways,
On that note, I'm not looking for sponsorships either, but I do have a development that is going to require an investor at some point. Um, Amy is going to be teaching music fundamentals course,
hmm
91 modules, about 10 chapters per. She wants me to put all that on video for her YouTube channel.
oh wow,
A couple of days ago, I had lunch with a high school classmate of mine. She moved to St. Louis just a few months after I did. She's a leadership consultant. She could use a videographer and video editor. And in my own work, I could almost justify putting together a small professional studio, making it a full time gig,
there you go.
almost.
Yeah, that'd be
But
awesome.
no sponsors, no sponsors. I'm beholden to nobody.
Right? Exactly, just yourself.
That's the slow build up.
There you go. There you go. Um, so we have this. When I think about the alien stuff too, I can't leave out people like Eric von Donigan when he came out with Chariots of the Gods
Hmm.
so many years ago, like the late 1960s, I think.
Right?
And
Didn't
he,
he die? Didn't he just die like within the last year?
I think he died last year or the year before that.
I was thinking it was just last year.
Yeah, he died of old age,
Um,
and
Professor Professor Dave Explains gave him a hat tip, and so did Mini Minuteman.
oh really?
Mini Minuteman was doing a video about UFOs,
Cool, cool.
and yeah,
So I remember when I was in the seventh grade, I found um, "Chariots of the Gods" by Eric Don Vonnegut, and I picked it up, and I read a lot of questions more than anything. A lot of I think if I remember right, he said there's over 230 questions in his book. If I remember right, if that's what he quoted. So there's not a lot of answers, but a lot of questions in there, and so it really started kind of like a curiosity thing when I was younger. Of what is out there, what is real, is
right,
the stuff that we're being told on the TV, is that real? Are the series real? And then as you get older and you're able to discern a little bit more between what's fake and what's not fake, then you have to ask yourself a little bit deeper of like, well, what what are they really trying to tell us? What is this show really trying to tell us? Is there a disclosure somehow? Is there a hidden message? Is there because if the powers that be were and with the aliens, all right, because now you're mixing Christianity and all types of different things with the alien thing, because now we're talking about if if aliens are real. All right, let's just go down this way. If aliens are real, let's say if the insectoids are real, all right,
right,
the what the church is trying to say, and I remember this happening. I think it was John Pope in the mid '90s. He came out and said this. He said that if and this made a lot of sense for a lot of people, that just like how we had Jesus in our human form 2,000 years ago, die on the cross for our sins, would not an insectoid or a reptilian also have a similar Messiah figure on their quote unquote planet or their galaxy or whatever it might be?
right,
Like their solar system, I guess. That to me makes a lot of it's like, okay, then that doesn't make us special in a grand scheme of things. If there is different alien, if there's different species of critters out there, then Christians would have to believe that Jesus isn't just coming in a white robe and red sash, looking Caucasian with brown hair and blue eyes.
right,
He could look like a 10-foot tall white albino reptilian that has massive psychic power, or he could be a 7-foot tall praying mantis. I mean, OG Flip, but this is the time you should probably get your tinfoil hat on. All right, because because I mean, if you want to, if you think about it, and if the church is trying to tell people to prepare for some type of beings that are going to be exposed, well, there are they. Then who died for their sins? Does that mean that their God is greater than our God, or did our God, the Creator God, create them as well? And what made them? Then that makes that we may be the first man made in God's image, but we're not the first humanoid made in God's image. Because if these things are super advanced, all right, if the aliens are super advanced, whether they're north, whether they're reptilians, the greys, or the mantis, or the oompa loompas, or the big space chickens, doesn't matter what they are.
right. Well,
They're able to travel interstellarly, right? I mean,
right.
according to
Well, here's a thought. We as humans tend to picture deities in some humanesque form, right?
hmm
But I was taught that that is true, but at the same time, God is omnipotent and omnipresent, and therefore, like the Holy Spirit, is without form.
right, but but in that case, the spirit or God took form and came to Earth as a man, as a bipedal man.
Right.
So in that premise, and this is what the previous pope said. He also said that just like God came to us in man form, God too would also go to them in their form.
I think there was an old Star Trek episode that had an alien character that I think the D&D Beholder was based on, but it used psionic projection, and it would project the image of itself into the mind of the viewer
Mm-hmm.
in a form that the viewer could relate to until the mind flayer reveals itself, where somebody can break that psychic connection, and then they see it for what it really is. You know, it could be just like that sort of perception, pareidolia, a form of pareidolia, if you will.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can see that because some people see the face of Jesus in a piece of toast,
Or on a dog's butt.
or on a dog's butt, or oh yeah, on a corgi's ass, or they'll find it in an avocado or whatever, on a potato or
Right.
whatever it might be. That's
But
a that's a heavy case of
I,
pareidolia there.
I think that if I were a supernatural, omnipresent being wanting to interact with other beings, I would want to interact with them in a way that would make them feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right. Most like so like in South Park, when the aliens when the kids in South Park realized that Earth was actually a TV show, a reality TV show, the most comfortable form of them was a giant taco pooping ice cream. So who knows? Maybe in the reptilian world, maybe that is their god. Maybe a giant taco pooping ice cream is their god, and
right?
that's a possibility. But but
Well, I mean, you look at the diversity of the pantheons all across human history.
mm-hmm.
There, I mean, I know Cthulhu is not an actually worshipped. Well, Cthulhu was a made up creature, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. Cthulhu is the Lord of the Dark, but yeah, this is my sleeve. So, anyways, there you go. Oh, it goes up here,
nice.
shoulder. Goes up on my shoulder too, and on my back a little bit. So, yeah. Thank you, OG Flippa. And you're welcome. But I think realistically, if we're going to talk about philosophically here, and then the aspect of the church and religion, whatever their creator deity would be, it would be safe to assume that because we are created in the image of God, and if we are, or the image of our creator, let's just put it that way, the image of our creator, which means our creator has two arms, two legs, a head, and it's a bilateral being. So I mean that you cut us in half, we each side equals the other half. So that means, and also here's what's crazy too, is that all the other aliens that I see, not on the ones of the movie, but in the ones that are being disclosed, all right, the Nordics, the reptilians, the Greys, and the insectoids, all four of those are also bilateral beings. It means if you cut them in half, your right side matches the left side. So in that sense, that will fall in line with the creator who created us, because we're in his image. While there's small adjustments, sure, in those species. Some are taller, obviously reptilians or insectoids, or look like insects. Um, and I haven't heard any other kind of, when it comes to insectoids, people are like, well, what if there's a grasshopper type? No, there's no grasshopper type. There only seems to be tall, skinny, praying mantis-like. That's the ones that are most likely seen when they're in a sleep state or a meditative state, or they've been taken onto a craft of some sort. Those are the only time when they see insectoids. They always see a praying mantis-like insectoid. Same with the Nordics: tall, blonde, blue eyes, pale skin. The Greys, short, bulbous heads with the big black eyes. They're all the same. And the reptilians. The reptilians are all the same too. They range anywhere from 7 to 9. The matriarch and patriarchs are taller than that. Some reach 10 feet tall, and they have a pair of wings that are no longer usable, but are kind of like they're still functional in a way for like gliding, or they can stop themselves from falling, almost like a Batman with his wings, with his cape, sort of thing. That's what has been described. Okay. Also, the reptilians have a very psychic way of connecting to people. Like they have a psychic way of grabbing on and paralyzing their prey before they devour them. They like human flesh. All right. Now here's something crazy, and maybe you knew some of this, know some of this too. But some of the crazy stories I've heard with reptilians is that before World War II happened, the reptilians they wanted to find out who was the most dominant species on the planet, and at the time, Germany was up and coming, and so they decided to meet with the German government down in Antarctica, because that's where they found a couple of crashed craft that were under the ice, and there was this under the ice cavity, if you will, very very large, very hot in there, and reptilians live there. Well, the reptilians brought the Germans down there and said, "Hey, we'll give you some certain technology, but you have to supply us with food." And so a lot of people can equate in America, the 800,000 people that go missing every year to them being stolen and fed down to Antarctica to the reptilians so they don't take over our planet.
I've
Have
heard
you heard
that.
that before?
I've heard that
That's a
before.
story. I know. It's a
It's quite the tale.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what I was hearing too, and
I remember believing that at one time.
I did. I thought it was like,
But,
this is a crazy enough story that it has to be real. I mean, honestly, that's what I was
right.
thinking. That's what I was thinking, and then I looked into it. I'm like, these are just stories, and these same stories go along with a few people who've been 20-year back programmed. And honestly, I just have to be full disclosure here for a little bit. There was a short time in my life where I thought I was part of a 20-year back program. There was.
All right.
But then I realized, no, I'm just watching too much Ancient Aliens. That's just I'm just watching too much TV. I just need to turn the TV off and go outside for a while. Is Q into all the alien mythology? I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't think Q is.
Not quite as much. I mean, they were like alien disclosure adjacent, I think,
Yeah,
but
kind of like
they were
Epstein
more about
Island
revealing the
adjacent.
deep
So
state, right?
yeah, they mention Epstein Island, but they don't actually mention, who's in the pedophile, who the actual pedophiles are, and
Right.
so, and they're coming to find out that our government isn't doing anything about that except for covering up for pedophiles. But that's a whole different topic.
That's a whole nother
That's a
ball of
whole different
wax.
show. That's a whole different show right there.
Yeah, yeah. But
Well, let me
no,
ask
I,
this.
I
Go
knew
ahead.
I knew a lot of folk that were into QAnon that were also into the alien stuff. So the Venn diagram, there's a big overlap,
Yeah, yeah, there is, because
but not necessarily the same thing.
no. There is an overlap for sure. Um, because I was in Q, I was in Aliens, so there's a bit of the conspiracy theory, conspiracy lobby, if you will, is open for
Yeah,
for both parties.
I tried to do QAnon and it got into the gematria, and I'm like, I can't do this. It gives me a headache. And just
Yeah,
jumping around all these different crumbs. I'm like, no, I didn't like doing this whenever we were doing apologetics with the Bible before apologetics was called apologetics. I no, I'm not
yeah,
doing all this. I got other things I'd rather be doing.
yeah,
But
yeah. I don't blame you. I got you.
it took a long time for me to really start breaking down my beliefs in alien life forms.
Hmm.
I believe that there is a distinct possibility that we are not the only intelligent life in all of creation, including the vast universe, which we can't see the edge of because, there's so many other things that are in the way. It's like standing in a forest. You can only see so far because of all the trees, even in a sparsely populated, lightly forested area.
Mm,
But I, yeah, it took me a while to start untangling things. And you were talking about Bob Lazar and Greer, and
mm-hmm.
a lot of that, like adjacent to that, was a lot of those Tesla energy things. The free energy, and of course that's when you start getting into the electrogravitonics and TR3B, and
Yeah, yeah. Let's kind of go in that direction a little bit here. Have you seen any, or have you had experience with weird phenomenon in the sky or
oh yeah,
something personally? Like, tell us a couple stories.
I think probably the one that was most distinct in my mind from childhood anyway was laying in the back of the car. My folks had a Datsun LB 110, so it had a little bit of a curved back.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I got a hold of it, Dukes of Hazard were really popular,
Oh shit.
and the Datsun LB 110 had it. Mine was butterscotch colored, but it was on profile. On profile, it was sort of a caricature version of that hatchback Charger that was the General Lee, right? Four-cylinder engine, nothing super fancy. But anyway, we had been out visiting my godparents. And on the way home, I'm laying in the back of the car, looking up at the sky, looking up at the stars through that back window. And something went streaking over us. My parents didn't see it. I asked them about it. But it was like this really bright yellow ball, just like disc or ball, but it had a lighter yellow streak behind it, and it had like this orange squiggle that was trailing down through the middle of it. So there's like three shades or two shades of yellow and an orange in the middle. My parents didn't see it.
Hmm.
I don't know what I saw.
Hmm.
There, and then, like I said, while I was stationed at Kirtland, there were things that I saw in the sky there, and while I was stationed at England, there were oddities, and in fact, I was, the Rendlesham Forest story.
Yeah.
About 2 years after that event, we were parking our trucks in those woods.
Really.
We were out playing war games, doing bomber damage recovery practice.
They didn't block those woods off for much long, did they? Very long.
No, no. In fact, I had not even heard the Rendlesham Forest story until I had been home for over a decade. Bear in mind, I got home in '87. It was almost a decade before I linked the Rendlesham Forest story with, oh shit, that's where we parked our trucks.
Was it ever talked about, like
No, not really.
barracks rumors or
No.
whatever?
But see, I wasn't stationed at Lake and Heath. I went up there to play war games, and here was the really funny
Hmm.
thing. One night, the one and only time I ever had a weapon stuffed in my face while on active duty, we were rolling back off of our war games. We were told, take your trucks back where you got them. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. We've been in these trucks for the last 12 freaking hours, right? We're done. We're ready to be done.
Yeah.
And we come rolling up on these woods. I got a radio man with me. Or no, the radio man. I took the radio man out with me, but he rode back with somebody else. So we come rolling up on these woods, 2 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden, we had a whole bunch of RAF regimentals and a whole bunch of Sky Cops pissed off at us because they were stalking each other in those woods. without night vision,
Oh shit.
and so we destroyed their night vision.
Yeah.
They weren't using
Yeah.
tech. They were,
Yeah.
and we come rolling in there with our brights on in these dump trucks. They're British dump trucks, but still, raw. Oh, they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
mad.
They're all
And
flashing.
they, the one of the staff sergeant actually come approach my truck, and I roll my window down, and he stuffed the muzzle of his 16 into my window, and told me to move my truck. And I'm like, no, I have orders to put my truck here. And then I shut the truck down. But yeah, I wasn't going to move my truck without orders. And then the lieutenant who was riding with us, who had the radio, he came by truck by truck. All right, we gotta go somewhere else to park. Follow me. But yeah, it was crazy. So I don't know what actually happened in Rendlesham Forest. For all I know, it was just some airmen being goofy. I don't know. But I've been there and I didn't see anything and we didn't talk about it. It wasn't a local tale or anything.
Okay, that's weird. Well, I mean, I guess it's not really weird, but um, I guess something like that would be put on the hush hush. Anybody who would talk about it maybe 20, 25 years later after the fact.
Right.
After.
Well, the best man at my wedding was one of the technicians on the Shiba Star project, which was essentially a positive charge particle beam, which was a Sandia Labs project. He went up to Los Alamos regularly with the team to go do test shots up there with other high powered lasers.
Hmm,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
For my wedding present, wedding present, he snuck me into the Shiba Star lab.
Hmm, interesting.
Anyway,
Interesting. Interesting. So
I've seen some weird
you've
stuff.
seen a few days. I've seen several things, and in my deployment, when we're out by Cedar 1, which is in Iraq, which is south of Bosnian Bridge. Well, Cedar 1 is north of it, and Cedar 2 is south of it. Right outside, a few miles away from where Abraham from the Bible was allegedly born. There's a big ziggurat there. If you don't know what a ziggurat is, it's a step pyramid um, made with bricks, if you will. It was very weird because it's same type of construction. That's it's 7,000 miles away in South America. So, but anyways,
Right.
that's for a whole different topic right there.
Problem solving apes.
Yeah, yeah. So I did see things when I was over there. Darker than night objects. They move fast. It's hard to see them unless your eyes are adjusted and you've been, without night vision and completely black, lights out driving sort of thing, where the gunner and the driver have the MVGs, and you're just, staring off into the dark desert. And once you get out to a fob and kind of away from the lights a little bit, you get to see some very interesting things. And
Yeah.
you can't really, you don't know what they are. You can't. There's no lights. There's no spotlight. There's no solid figure. Everything. The couple things I did see, they moved too fast for me to actually identify what type of shape they were. But I could tell because something was blocking out the lights, the stars.
Now,
So something was moving
there,
fast.
there were things that I saw at RAF Weathersfield that I couldn't explain,
Hmm.
and there were things that I heard tales of, like the staff sergeant that I worked with in mobility management. He was my immediate supervisor. He lived in on base housing, and he told me stories about he and his wife would be sitting in the living room. His wife was a tall, good looking lady. She was a leg model, and her legs had been featured on a Coors poster. So that was on the wall over the bar.
Hmm.
But yeah, every now and again he would hear voices coming from another part of the duplex that they lived in. It was a townhouse duplex. And one night he was able to actually track down the source of the voices. They were coming from the room that he used as his like man cave, and he could hear enough of the voices that he could hear them talking about bomb run plans. During World War II, RAF Weathersfield had been a recovery base. So when the bombers were coming back from their runs in Europe, they would
Mm,
land at RAF Wethersfield, refuel, and then go back to Lakenheath to rearm.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of
So
wild. That's wild
yeah,
to hear that residual energy somewhere in there. Or there's somebody
yeah,
still having a conversation there, which is kind of wild.
yeah.
Um,
Some have interpreted that as a time rift. Some of like residual energy, and I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not sure either. Um, but things I do know. I got a couple stories here for you guys, and they're recent. They've happened while I've been in this house, and since I've been in this house, I've had more. I haven't had this much. Let's say I wouldn't say paranormal. I've had some paranormal activity in the house, but um, uh, other sightings. Let's put it that way. When I was younger, I would see things I couldn't explain it. Like when I was, before like 12 and younger, I would see certain things in the sky. I've captured a what I think to be a cloaked 3RTB in broad daylight. I don't know if you guys have noticed the cloud formations, but they're high stratus cloud formations, and they look like cotton balls that they're just placed together, and they cover a large area, or they'll be in strips, and they go usually on a high pressure day when there's a breeze, but it's also humid. So like a spring or fall day, you usually see them then. And what they'll do is it's almost like they're up at the where there's a jet stream at, and they park there and they just go with the clouds. I have them in a perfect triangle, two of them. Um, I'll show you guys. I have to find them on my phone. I'll have to show you guys some eventually. But then another time, I was in. It was all the leaves had fallen off, so we're talking probably late October, fall, November time frame. But it wasn't quite cold yet, so it was probably early November when I saw this. But I was taking my dogs out, and I was looking to the north from my location, and I could see above the tree line there was a cluster. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the cluster sightings where they just look like a bunch of tic tacs essentially in a weird formation, a cluster formation. No pattern to it that we can recognize. Just kind of going across the sky, and it was a matter of 3 seconds. I had my phone in my hand, and I looked up, and they were gone. So whatever those were, was very interesting, and because I've seen groups of flocking birds before. I've seen ducks and geese fly. I've seen small birds fly. I've seen them fly in formation. I've seen here out of Jefferson City, south of us. Every summer they have a great balloon festival where they have all the hot air balloons come by, and they go in a certain direction and stuff like that. And I've seen, but these weren't anything I've seen before. I had never seen a cluster formation before. So then the following spring of the next year, we were at the dog park, and there was a group of us sitting at. We pulled the table out into the sun because it was such a nice day, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was a beautiful spring day, and I looked up and I saw what looked to be. I thought they were maybe like some offspray, or some seagulls that just kind of lost their way over from the river, from the Missouri or Mississippi River. Maybe they had gone up the Gasconade or something like that. It's
Right.
but it was a bird. I was trying to rack my brain, like what could have a white bottom and be flapping that high. And then when I first noticed them, they were just kind of circling in a way, and where they looked like birds would move. Like they'd swoop and sway, and I could see their whatever these things were. They had wings. These wings were flapping. But then when I started questioning out loud, like, "Hey, do you guys see that?" Then all of a sudden, their movements became 90-degree turns, stopping, and then moving backwards, going up, going down. You could see them like disappear and then come closer, like get more clear. So whatever these things were, they were in a high atmosphere, and they were maneuvering with flexible wings like birds do. Um, but if they had the ability to stop flying and then fly backwards, and then turn at a 90-degree angle left or right, be able to do crazy things that you wouldn't be able to, crazy maneuvers that just don't look natural at all. And there was 5 of them, and they were all just doing their thing. I watched it for about 2 minutes, and then when the other 4 people at the table who could see them, they were all looking up, and we're all just dumbfounded by what the fuck are we seeing here, you know? So, and as sure enough as I saw them, they just went up. You could see them physically. They stopped, and then they all went up together at the same time. It was the most bizarre thing, and I know how they went up because they disappeared from my line of sight. They disappeared from my sight, and they got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. Just much like the
Right.
Chinese balloon. Remember when that thing, Chinese balloon, dropped down to 45, 50,000 feet, and then we could see it. I could see it here in Missouri, and I watched it go across, and then I watched it eventually, float out of my line of sight. But these
Right.
things physically went up into the air and disappeared, and it was, I don't know what it was. Never haven't
Well,
seen them before, but it
have
was
you
very
ever have
interesting.
you ever watched a hummingbird fly?
Yes,
They fly forwards and backwards, and they can move left and right.
but
They can hover.
these weren't hummingbirds.
Well, I'm just saying that those flight patterns can be found in nature,
Yes, and
but
that's what we
not
thought
not
too.
in not in human built technology.
No, 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 no. This was these things were not, because hummingbirds are, at most 4 inches long.
Yeah,
They're tiny little birds, and especially the ones that are in. If we have any here in Missouri, I think they're further south, but like the ones in Tennessee, for example, those are small hummingbirds. We don't have large
yeah,
hummingbirds. You want bigger ones, you got to go to Africa or South America for those.
right,
And
right,
the ones we have here, yes, they have a white chest, but they also have a green underwing. The under the
right.
wings are green. So, and these were more white, and they
Well,
had, this was
I
weird.
wasn't saying I wasn't trying to say that you were looking
No,
at
no, no, no.
hummingbirds.
I had the same thing
I'm
too.
just
I
saying
was like,
the flying technology is
yeah,
similar, but
yeah. And
in
I
whatever
thought maybe they were
hummingbirds
dragonflies
aren't
too.
hummingbirds aren't made by humans. I have seen ornithoptic flyers built like dragonflies,
Hmm.
you know, but not a hummingbird. You know,
Right.
dragonflies don't. Well, a real dragonfly can kind of fly backwards and they can hover, but still, it's not
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dragonflies are. Yeah. These were very, and that's what I thought too. I was like, are those hummingbirds? And I'm like, I've been in Missouri for 10 years. I've never seen a hummingbird. At the time, it was like 10 years. I'm like, I've never seen a hummingbird before in Missouri. I've seen dragonflies. If dragonflies in my backyard, but I've never seen these flying things, whatever they were, which was weird because
Right.
they they had, you could distinctly tell that whatever these things were, they were pretty big because you could tell the flapping of the wing looked like a bird, like an actual, like a big bird. And I thought to myself, holy shit. So after they had flown away, I went through my phone. I'm looking up types of big birds that have yellow bellies and can, hover and stuff like that. And I was like, this is blowing my mind. I don't know
Right.
what this is, but this is blowing my mind. So, and I've never had I haven't had a incident since. I haven't seen anything since. I haven't, haven't any eyewitnesses. I haven't seen anything go around the moon. I haven't seen anything in the skies, and then all of a sudden now we have, a government saying, oh, guess what? Alien full disclosure. Kind of reminds me of Eric Don Vonnegut. If you guys, uh, um, uh, no, not Eric Don Vonnegut. It's the 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 the, the NASA scientist the rocket scientist, the
Oh,
Nazi
Werner von Braun.
Werner von Braun. Thank you, Werner von Braun. It reminds me what his assistant wrote down before he passed away finally. was that the American people will have three threats before, and then we'll have an alien invasion. He said there would be a war wars, will be a threat. There will be nuclear threats. There'll be an Islamic terrorist threat, and then there's going to be an alien threat. And I'm wondering if we're at the alien threat now because the Muslim threat isn't working so well anymore.
Well, I think that's interesting because the way I heard it was that it would be a faked alien invasion.
And that's where I was going to go to next. It's like, are you, because both of us are in the boat where aliens aren't real, then
So you and I have both heard that Warner von Braun warning
yeah, many
differently
times.
many times,
Yeah.
but I've not heard that. I don't remember hearing that version of it.
And I may be paraphrasing, I may be wrong with it, but but anyways, the thing is the alien invasion, if you will, I'm using
Right.
quotations, is it could be that's going to be the last threat allegedly.
Well, when I was doing a lot of work with Trucker Tom,
Trucker Tom.
right? No F given.
Oh yeah.
Um, he sent me a clip that was supposed to be von Braun's final words, final warnings, and one of them was the rise of the Midwestern Church. And this is whenever I was digging into the NAR, just starting to become aware of that. And I'm like,
That's rising right now as we
that's
speak. You know.
risen, yeah, it's up there. But and then the and a warning of a faked alien invasion.
Right, and so
But
when
then
I
again, also Werner von Braun with the technology of the rockets he was working with, it would have required a refueling. But that was before we came up with the larger rockets, the multi-stage rockets
right,
that facilitated the moon landing.
the multi-stage rockets that were all black and white. I don't know if you ever
Yeah.
noticed that they were painted checkered. If you
I wouldn't call it exactly checkerboard, but I see where you're
but
going with
but
that.
they had black white they had a white pattern to them. Every single one of them did,
Right.
and I was like, well, that's not a homage to anybody there at all. That's just he just happens to like black and white rockets. You know, no big deal. That's fine. Nothing to see here. I'm sure there's nothing for
Well, the
nefarious.
government had lots of black and white paint because of the stuff that they were building. Like navy vessels and. But yeah, let's see. By the 1950s, the Air Force was definitely a thing. I mean, the Air Force was born September 18th, 1948, just a year after the CIA was born.
Oh my gosh, no! It's almost like LifeLock. It's amazing how all these programs, either the day of, the next day, or a couple days later, or a month later, they always just end up be, oh, these same
Well,
people are in this
the
program
OS
here, and that's but it's just
the
names will be
OS
different.
the OSS became a thing of the past when the CIA was born on, I believe it was September 18th, 1947. And that was during the same time that General Mitchell was proving on the testing grounds the advantages of having a dedicated Air Force.
Hmm.
And that's how the Army Air Corps then became the Army Air Force, and then their own branch,
Hmm.
which was officially announced on, I believe it was September 18th, 1948.
And then what did Roswell happen?
Yeah, it was same year.
Same 48, 1948,
Yeah.
47, I think it was.
And we were working on weather balloons and other technology.
Allegedly. Allegedly. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I don't know. I tend to think that if we're gonna have some type of visitor to our realm, I think it's going to be more of an interdimensional being as opposed to an extraterrestrial, something that comes from a bazillion light years away and has such advanced technology and everything else. Um,
Well, it for intergalactic travel, utilizing interdimensional transportation seems to make a whole lot more sense. I
But
mean,
we're but
I saw a comment earlier about quantum computers,
mhm.
and I remember years ago doing a video from that was like a TED Talk type thing, and it was Rosie who was the head of oh, good grief, I'm drawing a blank on the company, but they were a big AI company, and there was the thing was he had a mock up on the stage. It was like describing it as this big black box, and because of the cooling tube that pulses once every second, I think he equated it to being like standing next to an alien, an altar to an alien god. But in this conversation, he was describing, trying to describe how the qubits work. It's on and off and neither all at the same time, right? So it's this quantum entanglement. And he said it's like reaching into another dimension to pull out information.
Hmm.
And I was
Kind of what CERN's doing.
at that point in time, I was like, oh shit. He's talking about actually opening portals to another dimension. I'm doubting that part now, but it does make a lot more sense than trying to generate enough energy to set up a stable Einstein Rosen bridge.
Well, when I hear portals, I go back to who were some of the founders of NASA or ASA, I think it was at one time. Um, uh, you have some occultists who actually helped create NASA.
Yeah,
So when I think of portals, I'm thinking,
Parson, Jack Parson.
Jack Parson.
Jack Parson was an acolyte of Crowley.
That's who I was exactly
And
talking about.
L. Ron Hubbard knew Jack Parson and tried to use Jack Parson to get together with Crowley.
Yes.
And Crowley says, I don't want Hubbard anywhere near me. That dude's wacky.
Again, we're talking about somebody who dealt with a lot of sex magic and
Yes,
opening up portals to gain knowledge through these beings that he supposedly had contact with. Um, this is somebody who was closely related to one of the founders of NASA.
right.
Okay, so we have to take that into consideration when we're talking about some of these organizations that supposedly represent space and how they were founded and what they currently are telling us or what they've told us in the past. So
Well, I know somebody who's claimed to open a portal.
who's that?
Robin Bullock.
Robin Bullock.
Yeah, he's a Trump preacher. First it was Democrats opened a demonic portal over the White House, and then a couple of months later he was saying that he had opened the portal that I think it was Lance Wallnow had noted it in a photograph. But anyway, Robin Bullock, he's always talking about the wealth transfer.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Oh,
talking about
okay, 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 okay.
how he opened that portal to bring the glory of God onto the White House.
As far as I know, I don't think the glory of God needs a man to open up a portal to shower His
Right?
glory on. I'm just saying.
That's
I
truth.
don't really think that really needs to that man needs to be doing that for the Almighty. I don't.
Right, right.
So
I think it's rather interesting how some people limit the power of their deity.
yeah, that's kind of, considering he allegedly created the entire universe and everything else, and like created
Right?
our eyeball and all the functions of our hands and all that kind of stuff, and every critter everywhere, including the cat behind you,
Including critters on other planets.
including critters on other planets, right? I mean, this is an all-creating God that is apparently has been making things in His image for a very, very long time.
Right.
I mean, because we discussed that earlier um, that if the just through biblical aspects of creation, that if we are created in His image, then it would make sense that their deity would look similar to them,
Yes.
and that may
Yes.
be the same creator God of
Right.
the universe, if you will. And so
Right.
that that kind of is a I don't think it's a difficult concept to really grasp, but for some who again we're having, we don't have cognitive dissonance here. We're entertaining two different ideas in our head at the same time, and we're talking
Right.
about them as well. And so we're it's not a one or the other. It's more of a I'm questioning. I have lots of questions, and I highly doubt what our government is telling us is the truth. I know
Right.
there have been people who've said they've seen non biological entities or non humanoid entities, if you will. But what does that mean? Like without it's where I put aliens and stuff like that. I put them in the same boat as almost like a crypto like Bigfoot. All right,
Right.
aliens and Bigfoot kind of go hand in hand. You've got this ton and ton and ton of people's firsthand experience. You've got abductees, you've got MUFON, you've got there are in ancient cultures and in tin type and on wood carvings, there are very interesting stories and pictures and images that have been carved into the wood or into stone, for example. There's a
And
place.
sometimes the stories, the cultural stories that go with that iconography
Hmm.
is lost to those who are observing.
You're right. Yeah, there's a
You
place.
know, because of the cultural differences and the distance in time,
Right, right.
and
There's
the lack of education or awareness.
yeah, yeah. There's that too, but even um, I think it's Teotihuacan. I believe it's Teotihuacan. There is it's a place in Peru where this courtyard is recessed about 3 feet into the ground, and it has a gate of the sun, which it has a deity right there in the center, and then it has winged beings, seven of them on each side, so 14 in total. But you also have in there in the stone in the wall, there are every space so often there are different faces carved into the stone, and they depict all the different types of races from all over the realm. Black people, Polynesian people, Asian people. There's even a stone that depicts a gray. You guys, the bulbous head, big almond-shaped eyes, big black ones. There's one there. It's a carving in there. So there's, we have there's stories in Japan of a woman coming out of the ocean out of an egg, and the egg closed and then flew back up into the air. You have the Brahmas that are from India, which are these Vimanas, these flying ship, if you will.
Yeah.
They shoot these laser beams, and they look like essentially small pyramids, cone pyramids, if you will, and they fly around at very high speeds. In Germany, there was a wood type of some crazy lights going off in the sky. There's even I think it was in France or Switzerland. I can't remember which state, which country, but of a floating cloud. They said that its anchor got caught on a church, on top of a church steeple, and there was a green figure, a little creature with long ears, popped out to unloosen the anchor, allegedly, and they flew away. So we have, much like Bigfoot, there's multiple cultures, and I'm sure there's stuff that I'm not mentioning right now for other cultures, but there's multiple cultures across vast distances that have very similar stories, much like Bigfoot. Okay, I can't disregard those tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of eyewitness of aircraft, or if they've had a close encounter of the fourth kind, or the third kind, or hell, even the fifth kind, where they actually abduct you and they take you and they do experiments on you. I can't. It's difficult for me to say no, you didn't have that experience, just because I didn't have that experience. I've had
Right.
experiences where I've seen things, seen craft, seen beings, winged things I'm telling you guys about, but it's difficult to you can have all this circumstantial evidence, but when it comes down to it, like the hardcore tangible, let me see what's, I want to have a green beer, or I want to have a purple beer with an alien. Let me have one of their lagers. What's it like having one of their drinks? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like I I have a hard time being able to uh, fully believe in aliens, especially after the years and years and years that we've had of, oh, alien disclosures coming, alien disclosures coming, alien disclosures coming. You have movies and series from starting in the late 19 from the 1930s, radio shows, all the way to cinema, to the movie screen, to TV, where it comes directly into your television, into your living room. Now streaming services, people are able to capture these devices on their phone or whatever. The people can make these really credible AI images of these devices or these movies of videos of these things, whatever they are. Okay, and then we have the government saying that yes, these things are real. Now of all time, now we're after people, we have like David Icke, who's been saying reptilians are real for as long as I've been alive. I think almost 40 years. So
It's interesting you should bring up David Icke because in some of my research, I found out that David Icke is affiliated with the Black Lodge,
yeah, I heard about that too. When I was
Blavatsky's Black Lodge.
yeah, when I was researching reptilians, because he's been preaching reptilians for such a long time. Could it be? We I don't know. A part of me kind of wants aliens to be real, just in the
Right.
aspect of like, oh, okay, they're real. Now we can move on. Okay, now let's start talking to them. Let's be like Alien Nation, where let's set them up in the ghettos and have them so they can have their own apartments and they can start their own businesses and they can start hooking and prostituting and pimping and all that kind of stuff, and let them have experiments where their blood actually cures cancer, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
It's just all kinds of, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I'm
Well,
okay.
maybe they be, maybe
I'll entertain it. That's why we're talking about it
may-
tonight. But I just I
it,
can't put a
it,
whole lot.
it,
Go
it'd
ahead.
be kind of fun if we ran into some alien like that had some technology like the Goa'uld on Stargate with the sarcophagi, where
Yeah.
you lay in and close it up and heal you, and
Yep.
yeah,
Well, I mean, it could be like that. It could be where it's a parasite that's actually living in somebody.
yeah,
You know, like
mm,
that's another thing too. Is you have to
brain worms.
yeah, brain worms. But you better watch out for that gas station sushi. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Oh,
The
where did our FK Junior pick up his?
I don't know, from a hooker,
I
I
don't
guess.
remember either.
I don't remember to be honest. Or wherever he picked up his things, I'm not quite sure. But anyways,
Well, when you go swimming in a sewage-filled creek, I mean, come on now.
I don't know. It could have been, who fucking knows? Maybe he hunted down a pygmy and ate their brain. I don't know. Honestly,
I don't know.
who fucking knows? But yeah, we're we have serious. There's, I don't know. I when it comes to this kind of stuff, I really don't. I would like to, like, for me, it's like um, it's like saying that space is real. I don't think space is real, so I don't think the aliens are real. I don't think they're. I think they're probably something that might have been here a long time ago, that just found a way to hide from us, and maybe that's leftover technology from other previous times. Maybe they are interdimensional, that we just don't understand interdimensional travel yet. Maybe something like the Star Trek, the teleporter.
Right.
Maybe something like that, where AI has figured out a way to take us apart and put us back together in a format to where we don't end up with an arm coming from our forehead or something. I
Right.
mean, that's got to be. Would have been one of the first human test subjects for the teleporter, which is all of a sudden you're like,
Brundle
oh my
fly.
god, why has no one told me my ass is so big? You know,
Brundle fly.
Brindlefly,
Brundle fly.
Brundlefly. What's that?
The fly, as portrayed by Jeff Goldblum,
Oh,
where the fly got into the teleporter pod and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, mixed him around,
yeah.
something like that. Yeah, that'd be a terrible, you know, good grief, that'd be a terrible experiment to have to go through.
I thought that the Jeff Goldblum version of that movie was way better than the original. And then
It,
again, the original was made like in the late 50s, early
yeah, I
60s.
was gonna say late '50s, somewhere around there. I know it was a black and white film, and to
Yeah.
be honest, the makeup wasn't too bad
Mm-mm.
for an alien film back then. And what we can see, but I never really got around to watching that one. It was when I was a kid, the commercials always came out and like the trailers, and it kind of freaked me out whenever I'd see it on TV and like The
It was
Fly.
it was it
So,
was really interesting to watch him go from Jeff Goldblum, from the human
mm-hmm.
that was playing the Brundle character to Brundlefly and watching the transition happen. It didn't just like happen. He didn't like pop into one pod and pop out the other.
It was a gradual like things. Sorry, he started noticing things like a Spider-Man gets his powers. He too eventually started slowly changing into like almost like an infection in the body where it just festers, and
Yeah,
instead of just creating affection, it changing your DNA into something different,
right.
completely changing. That's just you think about the science behind that of two different things being in there, and then their DNA mixing around, and he still is the same, but then he slowly changes because the foreign DNA is already melded on a molecular structure with his DNA, but is now mutating and growing. Because there would have to be some. Would there? Do you think there would be some type of a radiation process that would like jumpstart that mutation from
I
teleportation?
think that the scrambling of the DNA would be just like a goo mess in the result. I don't think that there would be life
You don't think
popping
so?
out of that second pod.
Just be like like Dr. Monroe's Island, where crazy looking in an Alien 4, where you have all these different hybrids of the alien. They're just in these
Yeah.
giant beakers, and oh god, that's just gross. That's just. But yeah, I think so too. I think probably science fiction, right? Science fiction works well in those type of stories. So,
Yeah.
but but yeah, I don't know. If I'm willing to eat crow if there really is such thing as aliens, you know.
If there are aliens, I'm willing to accept it.
Yeah, but
If
I'm not gonna. It's not gonna change my life. I don't.
no.
I'm not gonna go out and start rioting. I'm not gonna go out and start a religion. I'm not gonna. It's not going to. Uh, I'd like to meet him or it
Yeah.
or
If,
whatever.
if they exist, I would like to meet them.
Yeah, I
It's not going to make or break my life one way or the other.
no,
I'm not obsessed about it.
at all. I
You
think they're
know,
aliens. They just ain't here. So okay, so OG Flipper thinks aliens are real. They're just not here.
yeah.
Well,
Okay, so well, I mean, life on other planets, whether it's life as we recognize it or life has been redefined somewhere else. I believe in that, but I just don't know about the interstellar travel unless it's interdimensional, and I don't understand the science that would be required for that, and so I'm just gonna leave it at that.
well, what makes I mean if we're because we already talked about teleport. We talked about teleportation. We talked about tunnels, wormholes, things like that.
Right.
Well, in Stargate, that's what that's that's one story that I've been hearing I don't know, for gosh, since Ancient Aliens came out, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't remember reading about these in the libraries that I was in. And it doesn't, not saying that these didn't exist prior. These stories didn't exist prior, but I didn't know about it until mid 2000s, later 2000, whatever. Sorry, when that show came out. Um, but about these portals, these gates, if you will. There's a lot of I know. There's one series, a book series called Vampire Earth, where they talk about these gates that do connect to, much like the Viking pentology of the different realms. They also connect to these 12 different realms of the galaxy, if you will, and they all are connected by these gates. And so, also when we go back and we look into ancient cultures, especially in South America, when like what I was telling you guys about the faces and stuff like that. There's places where, especially there at that location, that the that during a certain time, a portal is supposed to open. This doorway is supposed to shimmer. They say it's always a shimmering effect of some sort, whether it be water shimmering or like a metallic shimmer. Some even describe it as a door of light, where people just go into, shaman just go into, and then they all of a sudden the light disappears and it's just a piece of rock again.
Out of curiosity, have you ever read the Book of Enoch?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I've
that's
got
that's
Graham.
a wild that's a wild
Where is it?
read when you start talking about getting into portals and
Right. Let's
doorways
see.
that
Where is it? Right there. Sorry, right there. Right there is Carl Sagan's Cosmos. I've read that book.
nice.
Somewhere in here, I have Einstein's theory of relativity, which
Right
is
on.
still a theory. He even said it in his pamphlet. It's like it's still a theory. It's never been proven. I've got Graham Hancock's both of his books that he put out, "The Fingerprints of God" and "Position of the Gods," and both of those were just phenomenal. If you wanna read um, some well written books that have some great pictures into it, and talks about a lot of the ancient things. And he doesn't mention Ancient Aliens, but Graham Hancock is one of those people who's been on Ancient Aliens a lot. But he's also a journalist that would go to these places and do his own research. And his wife would go with him, and she was a world-renowned photographer, and she would take pictures for him, for his books and stuff. And so they went through all throughout Central America, from the Mexico Olmecs down to Peru, to the Nazcan lines, to Patagonia, to all the way up into back up to Central Africa or Central America, where they spoke of, they came across these rocks that were had dinosaurs carved on them, and they were real, and then he talks about a lot of the Native American cultures here in America. The Hopi, he mentions the Hopi. I've got a book on my shelf here too, called the four realms of the Hopi, and it talks about in their creation myth how they have four realms where they have to ascend to each
Mhm.
one. It's a really wild story. If you guys haven't had a chance to, I encourage you uh, to pick that book up. But there, again, like
I've,
there's these.
I've
Go ahead.
I've consumed a lot more Flint Dibble content than I have Graham Hancock, and I consumed a lot of Graham Hancock.
I don't know who Flint Dibble is. Sorry.
He's an actual archaeologist. He's the son and a grandson.
Of an archaeologist.
He comes from an archaeology family. In fact, the one and only time, the one and only time that I sought out a Joe Rogan episode and sat and watched the whole thing nonstop was when Flint Dibble and Graham Hancock got together and had a debate on Joe Rogan's show.
Hmm.
That's the only time I've ever been able to sit all the way through all Joe Rogan's show. But I thought it was rather interesting to watch Flint Dibble and Graham Hancock debate. I,
Interesting.
I like
I'll
to.
have to go look at that. Again, like you,
Well, see,
I've seen
one of the
clips
things,
of Joe Rogan. I've never actually sat down and watched an actual entire
right?
episode.
Well, I'm not. I used to like Joe Rogan when he did some stand up, and then he got into this other thing. But and even when he was doing the stand up stuff, I wasn't a huge fan.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was Flint Dibble. Yeah, interesting character. Actual archaeology. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Part of the reason that I started listening more to Flint Dibble is while I was doing working on my history degree in college, one of my favorite classes was anthropology through archaeology, where we actually looked at artifacts to determine how a culture might use them
Hmm.
based upon what we already knew about that culture.
Right.
And so, our and then I got sucked out of that down that ancient aliens rabbit hole on History Channel, and
Yep. Yep.
then a few years ago, I started doing all this deconstruction and stuff, and I had to relearn a lot of things,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. I did too. You know, there.
including including exploring more ideas about archaeology, and that's how I ended up back on the academic side of things. I
I
love Flintible's
I
work.
took my one of my first classes I took was archaeology. It was anthropology 101. And again, too, like it was we had I had a really good teacher, and that's what made the class, less boring. And
Yeah,
one thing that stuck with me is that what you said there is looking at um, the available, like, and Christopher Dunn talks about this too, but looking at the available technology that's around, tools, the ways to make the tools, the means, like any type of natural irrigation, pottery, you name it, whatever was there, is that if they were trying to build something or make something, it was how could we replicate that product in the manner that those people in the past made a bowl, for example, or
right,
a water jug or something like that. So
right.
that's kind of like that's what I also really appreciate about the class, is because there's when you get into it and on the surface, and a lot of the archaeological sites, and the one that when they come across something that they had no idea, for example, like Gobekli Tepe, when scientists came across that, they always assumed that, and this goes across every continent that structures have been found, have been uncovered. They always assume it's some type of a religious ritual that goes into play, and Graham Hancock, he does explore some of that, but he also asks the questions that if logical or Occam's razor does not explain how they're able to build, like at Teotihuacan, the H blocks. I know I want to show you guys video pictures of that, but this is more just a conversation piece back and forth before diving into that kind of stuff. Um, but there's these H blocks that have in cuts, that have inlays, and
Right.
they are carved out of diorite, which is just as hard as granite. It's a little less harder than granite. Well, how do you cut into diorite with copper chisels and chicken bones?
Well,
You have to
now
have a higher,
that's
you have to have a harder material and a sharper material in order to cut into something that's less dense.
that's interesting that you should ask that because I used to watch a lot of that Uncharted X YouTube channel, and he was always asking about those Knoppix jars. That how do you hollow out a piece of diorite to make this jar? There's actually a research team in Russia a few years ago, just like within the last decade, had figured out how it's done by looking at the carvings
Mm-hmm.
in Egypt. They noticed a worker holding a jar and something that looked like a staff or a rod coming up out of it with a disc on top, with another worker standing there holding the top. And they figured out that you can make a copper auger head
Mm-hmm.
on a copper shaft with a ring on the top, where you can take a stone disc with a hole through the middle of it to put it on top to bear weight and carry momentum, and then add sand and water. And you can actually create a hollowed out Knoppix jar just with simple manual labor.
Out of what material?
They were carving it into diorite
With copper?
with copper and sand and water and weight and manpower.
That might be interesting to be able to drill a hole that way. Maybe.
I'll send you the video.
Yeah, send me the video
In
because
fact, in fact, I'll dig it up and I'll post it over here on Pilled so that
that's
those
fine.
folks can get it and you can pass it around. I'll tag you in it.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, this experimental archaeology is one of the really cool things that I love.
Mhm.
I mean, it started out with medieval reenactment in the SBA.
Well, yeah,
Watching somebody build a trebuchet or whatnot.
right, yeah, that kind of stuff is cool. I did two shows, 6 hours, 3 hours apiece, on a PTP show many years ago on just the construction of the pyramids and the Gaza Plateau. And we looked at I showed examples of smooth black diorite that had undercuts, that had toenails and fingernails with cuticles, and was smooth, no tool marks at all. So this somehow they're able to make diorite smooth enough to create these figures. Also, the
Well,
pottery that were made of it had an under lip that was at a top that was see through. There was cups that were made of diorite that were see through. If you hold them up to the sun, you could see the sun through them. And I'm like, this is some high level technology that because copper you have to continuously mine it and smelt it, and you have to continuously have it sharpened. And so when you're talking about
well,
trying
see, now
to
that's the thing about the tool that the Russians figured out could make this Russian research team figured
mhm.
out that they didn't use sharpened copper.
Well, what I'm saying,
Imagine like
I'm talking about the statues though. I'm not,
yeah,
again.
well, yeah, true.
I'd have to show you guys exactly what I'm referring to here because
Okay, so how do you cut facets on a diamond?
you have to use something harder than a diamond.
How? What's harder than a diamond?
You can use a chisel. Some people use a chisel. Some people use they actually use a belt sander, almost like a belt sander kind of thing,
Okay, so grit and pressure.
right? But we're talking
You
mechanical help here to cut the diamonds.
Not necessarily whenever you have a whole bunch of people that believe their leader is a deity.
Um, I don't think that copper was cutting diorite, was cutting shapes out of it. And again, I'd have to do a whole entire presentation on this because I already have two of them, two
All right.
presentations, and I had people who were worked in stone for a long time, that were dumbfounded by what I had presented to them. One of the people I presented to information is Christopher Dunn. Christopher Dunn has been working in concrete and rock form sculpturing and that kind of stuff for his entire life. Essentially, his dad owned a quarry, and he bought the quarry and created his own artwork and his own stuff. So we're talking massive amounts of rock weight, tons and tons and tons and tons, but also some of the inlays that were from Peru, and also ones that were also found at the Giza Plateau, are virtually impossible to do today, but with our current technology we have. So when it comes to and he wrote several books about this too. When it comes to mimicking ancient designs, ancient statues, and stuff like that, you have to use their tools. You have to use in the
Right.
way that they used them. You have to use the
Michelangelo's
quality of
cave.
tools too, and so there's these factors you have to use in order to mimic what these ancients did. And there's a
Michelangelo,
and
Michelangelo's David.
there's not just his. There's other ones that there's a one that's even more amazing than that is the fisher net. I think it's called the fisherman's net, and
Right.
it is I think a woman who is thatching up a fisherman's net, and the net looks real. Now this technology we had, okay, now with some of those, through smelting, you're able to have harder tools to
Right.
surface and smooth down the marble that was used.
Right.
Back in ancient Egyptian time, they didn't have steel tools; they had copper
No.
tools. So
Right.
when I see a harder material being cut by a softer metal, and limestone is much softer than
Oh
granite,
yeah.
and which can be shaped a lot easier.
True.
I tend to think that the tools there must have been some way that these these diorite statues were utilized, were created, but not with the toolbox that archaeology, mainstream Egyptology tells us that it was. I don't believe that, not at all.
Okay.
I've seen the video you're talking about, and I've seen them be able to drill a hole, but I've also seen holes that have serration marks less than a millimeter apart that are circular, that the mark keeps going down and down and down and down and down
Yeah.
like a record, almost like a
A
record.
tube drill.
Right,
A
it's
tube
a
drill
tube.
will do
Right, I
that.
see lots of those,
And that
but
and
you have to have
a tube
consistent
drill can be
pressure.
fitted up.
Well,
A tube drill can.
hold on. You have to have
All right.
consistent pressure, and the same piece of metal that's going to be put there, that creating the same mark over and over and over again down into a shaft. Reality is that there's no evidence of any kind of copper tubing being smelted on the plateau or anywhere in the Egyptian the lower or the upper kingdoms.
Hmm.
So again, we have to use the ancients' toolbox of what they had, and what they had cannot create this, especially on the Giza Plateau. It's much more evident in Peru and South America of the technology that they were able to cut stones. However, I'm not above the idea or the discovery that, and this is where I think this is probably where aliens or interdimensional beings or unknown technology that were lost to us, or maybe they were here before, something somewhere along the lines. That sound, I think they were able to utilize sound to soften stone to be able to mold it in a way.
Hmm.
That's what I think. We have. I just It just makes sense to me that because there's accounts in Tibet where monks were able to levitate and throw rocks across this valley and place them exactly where they wanted to build up this cave wall
I
for a
remember.
previous monk.
I
You remember that
remember.
story? I think we talked about it before.
I remember hearing that.
Right, and then there's all
Again,
there's lots of stories of
I've
like
never
the
seen
walls
any.
of Jericho in the Bible with the ram's horns and everything else. I mean, there's stories out there that talk about resonance frequencies that are able to manipulate walls, manipulate matter of some sort.
I've come to a belief that we have a really bad habit of underestimating the problem solving abilities that we as apes have developed.
Well,
I think we have underestimated ourselves in a lot of ways. I mean,
I think we've underestimated our
hang
our
on, hang on,
ancients.
hang on,
Ancients, I
hang
think.
on. based on my own life experience, I know I am not easy to kill. I am incredibly resilient and I am incredibly creative when it comes to problem solving. True, I have built that experience and information off of previous people's experience and knowledge. But if you go to the Doggerland region, there are stone wall embankments that some have interpreted as herding corrals when actually they were probably terrace walls because the water levels were rising.
Right, and
And
tell
the
us where that's
apes
located
figured out
at.
how to do it. There was no aliens involved.
Well, tell us how that was where that's located at.
Doggerland is in the area that's now known as the North Sea,
Okay.
there was a land bridge area
Mm-hmm.
there. But as the sea levels rose, that area was lost. And there's some archaeological work going on in that area.
That
Like you
remi-
said earlier,
yeah.
we only have like maybe what 15-20% of under the oceans mapped.
I
There
think
there
twenty
is
percent at
so
best.
yeah 20% at best. There's so much that we don't know
Mm-hmm.
because of civilization adapting to an ice age where the water levels have receded because it's all trapped in ice. And then people that were living down by the water because they're eating a lot of fish, well, now the water's encroaching on their land and they have to move further inland. And there's evidence off the coast of India. There's evidence off the coast of Africa
Right.
of water
You
levels that have risen 80 to 100 feet where
well,
there were
there's
dwellings down there.
the Bimini roads. They're
Yeah,
40 feet underwater, and some people have thought that it was. There's a lot of different theories out there. Okay,
right,
but I think that the most logical explanation is that at some point in the past, it was probably an artificial dock, an artificial bay, if you will, where ships could come in and unload because there was was it I think 20 miles off the northwest coast of the Bahamas, the Bimini roads are at off the smaller island, and there's a lot of theories that, like, oh, this is a road to Atlantis and this and that and other.
right,
But if you
yeah,
look at the way that other older underwater artificial reefs are built, is that they're built by layering them up, and the way that these things are, the Bimini Road is laid out. It looks like, and maybe this could have been a massive storm just came by and completely destroyed the entire harbor. Most likely was probably this way. But I think because of the way that the stones are evenly spaced out in a very particular pattern of a construction, I think that was probably a wall, if you will, of the base of a wall or the base of an artificial harbor for ships or for maybe fishing boats in the area
I,
to
I,
offload,
I,
or
I
it could
think
have been
that
it could have been a trading center as well, because
I don't think that's an unreasonable direction to lean. Although I haven't seen other evidence to support that, but I'm not saying that could rule that out because if we hop over to Cairo, Egypt, and you look at the artifacts of what's been identified as the port of Herculaneum,
uh huh,
it was destroyed by an earthquake,
yeah. Well,
and
there's off the
so and
southern
there's
coast of India. There's it's spotted between, there was a land bridge between Sri Lanka and the mainland of India at one point, but also at the southern tip there, they're finding ruins anywhere in the world pretty much. If you go, from 40 to 400 yards off the current coast, you can find ruins underwater, including off of the west coast of Cuba, 1,200 feet underwater, which is bizarre. Which is
at 1,200 foot depth. I'm wondering how much of that is residual from continental drift.
I mean,
Sublet on one side is the other. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm not familiar with that particular
yeah,
that particular site.
that's a whole underwater thing that I spent 3 shows doing underwater stuff there, and it's still
Oh,
I still have.
is that the one where they said they found some pyramids and some walls using some
Well,
side scanning
it wasn't just
sonar?
walls. It was a pyramid. They found 2 pyramids, and it was much like in the structure, same aspect of the Sun Pyramid in Mexico.
Okay, yeah,
It was
I do
laid
remember
out
that
where you
place.
had lanes, and they could tell where some smaller buildings were, some pyramids were, and they could tell where some structures were. But the research was shut down very quickly after that. Those photos, there's a couple of photos that got released to the public from an ROV. I think it was ROV or it was
It was
sonar. Right, it was
side scan
sonar that the
sonar.
computer had generated to a 3D image, and
Right,
into it, and so they could print it off, and it showed that what they found. So,
right.
um,
And there are some that say that there are some anomalous artifacts in that imaging, and I don't know.
well, there was a Millennium Falcon in the North Sea. Do you remember hearing about that?
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Apparently, I saw this come across some advertisement. I can't remember if it was on TikTok or where I saw it, but um, allegedly the mystery has been solved about the North Sea Millennium Falcon, and I think there's like an hour documentary about it or something like that. But for those of you guys are don't know what we're talking about, anybody can do a Google search. You'll find a few images of that are still around the internet. Just type in North Sea Millennium Falcon, and what'll pop up is this underwater scan. Well, it's a scan because it's done by Google Earth put it together, but it is this circular um, metal looking craft. If it looks like a craft, it's very large. It's about a mile, a little over a mile wide. All right, it's circular, but it has these like compartments that you would see on a craft, not smooth like some spacecraft, but it looked like they were kind of clunked together, and it's a circle. Well, in the it's not there anymore. You can't see it. I've looked, but and for a time there was the craft you could see in the North Sea, and that was actually in the northwestern part of the North Sea, close to England, I think it was on just off the coast. But more specifically, what was wild is that it had for over 100 miles, it had a track where it looked like it came in to the ocean, hit the bottom of the North Sea, and just skidded into it, and then came to a stop. That's what it looks like. Well, you can't find it anymore, but that's what the image is. If you do Google searches on there online, if they're still there, you'll find that it looks like there's a long track. And I did when it was still on the map, you could still point and click. You could find distances on Google Earth,
Yeah,
and it was from the tip of the craft to where I could see it started skidding. It was 100 miles. So this thing allegedly skid underwater for 100 miles before it came to a stop.
I don't know how that's
I
possible.
mean, if again, if we're talking about these beings that have this technology of this high level
Right.
of technology, that maybe because if I'm thinking like at a warp speed, when someone comes at a warp speed, like you have to put in coordinates, otherwise you're going to end up in a sun. In Star Wars, there's warp speeds, you have to put in coordinates. And I'm wondering if just like Roswell or some other instance like that where there was a malfunction and or sabotage, if you will, and that craft went into the ocean and stayed under the ocean until it was finally covered up, or maybe it was recovered. But it was not a volcanic mountain that just so happened to look like a certain
Right.
craft. This was, you know what I'm talking about. This was
Yeah.
a three-dimensional craft. You could see the hull go under. You could see the lines where it actually drug on the bottom of the North Sea. But none of that information. All that information has been scrubbed now. But I'm on Google Maps. You can't see it on Google Maps anymore, but I'm pretty sure you can find it on a search. So
I'll take a look into that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's real hush hush. There's not a whole lot of information. I mean, I spent hours almost 10 hours one day searching just for all the information I could find on that thing, and all I could find was it's an alleged craft and some older photos. That's all I could find. I mean, it has been scrubbed from the internet, basically. You can't even find like local newspapers. Can't find local newspapers from around that area. No, all you know is there are still some older fishermen when that thing came through. Some of them say that they experienced a big wave when it hit, like a mini tsunami, because they something they hadn't experienced before in the North Sea. Because the North Sea is kind of isolated. Honestly, you don't get a whole lot of massive waves that come in there. So when when their boat raises up and down a little bit, fishermen are going to notice that. But those are
Yeah,
those are fishing stories that have some journalists have found, and they made it way into a newspaper that eventually made it online. And how do you verify that kind of stuff? And it's again, they're just stories, and there's no evidence. There's no, like here's the ray gun of the alien, and here is his exoskeleton, form, and here's his spacecraft, and here's where the alien goes takes a crap. Here's where he poops and pees. There's none of that kind of stuff. Like there's
right.
another space. There's alien astronaut paste that he eats on his way over here. There's none of that kind of stuff. But we hear these stories of levitation technology and all kinds of crazy stuff that that some people, disclosure people, said, yeah, we got this stuff from the aliens, and we got time travel technology from the aliens. Okay, great. Now you're just telling me stories of like Elysium or
Right.
H.G. Wells, a War of the Worlds sort of thing. It's like I don't. I have a hard time putting a lot of eggs in that basket when there's a lot of stories, and again, like I said before, it's much like Bigfoot, where there's a lot of stories involved with it
Right.
and a
Right.
lot of personal accounts. I can't disregard those, but I need more than just
Right.
trust me, bro. I saw what I saw.
And that's why I got to a point where it's like I'm not gaining anything from this.
Hmm.
I feel like I've gleaned all I can from my research, and it's time for me to move on to other projects.
Right, right, and it's. I just wanted to. I wanted to go off topic tonight with you and I, because we usually get into the weeds on some heavier topics when we have discussions. I want to do something a little bit a little
Right.
more lighthearted. It's in the news. There's been hearings about it, and both of you and I have been hearing about aliens for most of our lives, if not all of our lives. And I just wanted to have a logical adult conversation about this stuff, and
And
both of it.
I've
Yeah.
and we've both heard so many different
Oh my
stories.
gosh.
I
So
mean, everything from their angels that are going to rapture us to they're really demons to there's all these different varieties. I mean,
yeah.
I do have a non-human biological entity over here next to me, but I know where she poops, I know what she eats, and I know where she drinks. I know where she sleeps. So she's definitely not an alien.
Right, right, yeah. But
She's
I mean,
just
honestly, if we were, you want to say that anything is an alien. If you want to look at the biosphere of this Earth, the biodome of the Earth, and the different life that's on here, that's
right.
in our oceans and on land, we humanoids, Homo sapiens sapien, we are the odd ones out.
Yes, we are.
We can barely adapt to any environment. We can adapt to all environments, yes we can, but we have to rape and pillage for natural resources in order to survive. We can't naturally survive like a wildflower in the tundra. A wildflower out there can grow in snow. We will
Yeah.
die in snow if we don't have protection. We
Right.
will die in the ocean, the water. We're not meant to be in the water. Our skin will wrinkle and eventually slough off if we are waterlogged. We're not meant for water. The land, well, we're not exactly the apex predator on any continent when it comes to
Right.
animals or territory. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
maybe human sapien, us people, maybe we're the aliens on this realm, whatever it is you want to call it, a round earth, flat earth, whatever it is. Maybe we're the ones that are supposed to be the experiment. Maybe we're the ones where are the variant, and everything else is the control. I don't know. I don't know. When I look at when I look at jellyfish, and I see that they're basically immortal, that when
Yeah.
resources are rare, they revert back to their previous stage in life, and they can revert back down to a pupa stage. We can't do that. We don't have the ability to be on the Sahara and
Right.
survive. We can't do that. We can't survive without water. And we can't survive without food. We need shelter. We need community. So I tend to think that, yes, we're unique as a human species where we live. We're unique. But we're also not the apex predator
No, we are
in
not.
any of on any of the continents. There's there's always something that can take us down and kill us, and it's always natural. That's the
Yes.
thing. It's always natural. It's always another bug or a reptile, or an insect, or some type of a lizard, or a snake, or a bear, or a lion, or the elements.
But
You know, it's something.
yeah. And when it comes to doing all the digging and the research, Amy and I have been together almost 2 years. And one of the first things that she taught me was this Japanese adage: do dishes, gain enlightenment, do dishes.
Hmm.
In other words, find the answers that you're looking for and then go back to doing what you used to do.
Right.
Don't become obsessed with seeking answers. I mean, I'm
Guilty.
always looking for answers. So don't get me wrong. I just don't. I'll get to a certain point on something and it's like, okay, I'm not gaining anything here. So I feel like I'm wasting my time and energy, and I move on to something that I can understand better, that I can glean more information from,
Yeah.
that I might be able, until I get to a point where, okay, like projects that have a set duration. I just dropped video 13 of 24. The 24th video is actually going to be a wrap up, but of the project 25 training videos.
Mm.
I'm eventually going to get through all that. I took a month off. I had to.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all, dude. I
I
don't.
I had a meltdown. It was just like triggered every day, and then I've gotten to talk to some people, and I feel much better about myself, and so I'm back. I was never self destructive. Don't get me wrong. I just the reality was a little bit too real.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I really do. And and sometimes we get wrapped up in a lot of the headlines and other things that go on around us, and I me specifically coming from a background of believing all of the alien stuff, all the space stuff, and everything else, and then
Right.
as you go through your awakening, I guess, if you want to call it that, or your journey in life, and
Yeah.
you start asking key questions. You keep asking questions, and we all of us come to our different conclusions of what those questions, the answers to those questions are, and but like I said, and so is Jerry here. If both of us are, hey, aliens are real, and we see the physical evidence, and they're all of a sudden we turn into a Star Trek society, and oil is reduced down to a lubricant, and we have hovercrafts and We can have all the free energy we want with zero emissions, and all the grandiose things that the high technology that these beings allegedly have. I'm okay. I'll admit that I was wrong,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I'm just not seeing that. After
But and
you know
neither am I.
after we've been
And then
exposed to this stuff for at least 40 years, and
yeah,
it to me, I just and this probably is just me being a bit jaded about because of DARPA and the secret programs and yada 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 yada. It keeps going on, and the fact that we've been lied to repeatedly our entire lives. I might be a little jaded on the topic, and I'm willing to admit that. Okay, I'm willing to admit that I am. But
there.
right,
And I'm gonna add another. Okay,
yeah,
because
there's a big
UFOs
but.
for the last 50 years, and we'll get to that big butt here in a moment.
Yeah,
Another topic that I am so sick and tired of that I've been hearing for the last 50 years that hasn't come about yet and isn't going to. The rapture.
oh yeah, yeah.
Right? For 50 years I've been
I heard
hearing the
about that.
rapture is going to be here and we're going to expose UFOs. Either do it or shut up, please. I'm done with all that. I got better things to do with my life.
Yeah, yeah. Same with the nuclear weapons. It's
Yeah,
like if we're gonna if someone's gonna bomb us, just fucking do it. Just get it over with, pull the trigger, and just bomb us into oblivion. Let us all become like Fallout 4 at the video game, and let us have this dystopian lifestyle. All right, and while
yeah,
the
because
elites live in the vaults. Okay, so
I remember living under that constant fear of
of
Russian
course.
nukes in the Cold War during the 70s, and then we get Hal Lindsey snatching up that fear, and it's going to be the apocalypse and Armageddon, and
Oh
anyway,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
journey.
Yeah, it is a journey. It is a journey. It is a journey. But yeah, I just wanted to. Thanks for coming on tonight, and Jack in the Jaw with this no showing, no presentation, just
Just
a simple conversation of two friends talking about something where, in reality, both of us don't really believe in, and we think it's a
right.
bunch of hooey. But we're willing to entertain the idea, um, and talk about it, and still as a fun topic for discussion, and even if we completely disagreed, even if you thought they were real and I thought they were fake,
Right.
we at the end of the day we'd still be friends, and
Yeah.
we would still hug each other when we saw each other, and all that kind of stuff. So, um, but yeah, I thought it was a really good conversation. We had the chat was just off the chain with all kinds of stuff. They were
Yeah.
doing their own thing, which is fantastic. Had some interaction with the other platforms, and I can't really complain. So,
No, I
yeah,
had fun.
yeah, it was a
We
lot of
always,
it.
Justin, you and I always have fun when we get together,
Yeah, yeah, we
whether
always
it's
do.
online or in person.
Yeah, always.
You
I
know,
agree with that. Yep, I really do. So, just like I do with any of my guests, give us some words of wisdom before we depart here for tonight.
hmm. Well, the words of wisdom that I'll give is the current sign out that I'm using on all my YouTube videos. Take
All
care of
right.
yourself so you can help take care of others. Get the rest you need. Get those fluids drank. And for God's sake, please remember mental health matters.
Well said. Well said. Uh, tell Amy I said hello, and give her our love, Beth and I's love. And we're gonna be just to let you know, we'll be in St. Louis on the 4th of June,
Ah,
and because we're leaving the 5th, we're flying out of there the 5th to go on our honeymoon to the Bahamas, and
oh,
so
nice.
we
Let me,
plan on going to the aquarium
okay.
on some gummies. So if you're around, uh, we should definitely link up for some lunch or something.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah. Um, hmm.
It's up to,
I
I know it's a little
see.
bit last minute. I do
Well,
apologize.
well, it might be doable. Let's talk about that more uh,
Yep,
offline.
sure.
I just looked at the calendar. There's a few things on there, but it looks like that midday segment might be open.
Cool.
So I'll check with her. And
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And if we can't do it, no, that's no big deal. We'll figure out another time. But again, thank you very much for your
it,
time. I do appreciate
I,
you coming on.
I, I would thoroughly enjoy getting to take you and Beth to Sauce on the Side.
Sauce on the side.
Yes,
Is that a restaurant?
everything is served calzone style.
No,
They
really.
yes, they for Thanksgiving they did a Thanksgiving dinner calzone
How big was that
with
thing?
a pumpkin pie calzone for the dessert. And Amy and I can split a calzone. So yeah, for our Thanksgiving dinner for us this past Thanksgiving, we called down the street to Sauce on the Side. They delivered us a calzone style
How
turkey
big was
dinner.
it? How big is
And
that calzone?
oh, it's a plateful.
Oh, I bet it's huge. Gotta be monstrous.
Yeah,
So, like the size of
they're
a
they're
rugby ball or something.
yeah, it's they're fairly thick.
Oh, goodness.
And
Oh,
my favorite my our favorite one they have the figgy piggy. It's bacon and figs as the primary ingredients and some other yummy stuff. And then I also like the magic carpet ride, which has like four different kinds of mushrooms, but none of them make you see things. But it's really good if you like mushrooms and cheese. That's the way to go. I got my buddy Ozzy who lives in Colombia. I've taken him there a couple of times, and he's like, "This is like hot pockets for grown-ups. It makes the fat
oh,
kid in me happy."
yes, Caliente pockets. All right.
So yeah.
You had me at hot pocket. So. All right, good sir. I do appreciate your time. I'm gonna go ahead and kick you off of here, and then I'm gonna do my little sign off and shut the stream down for
Sounds
the
great.
night. But
Thanks for inviting me. Like I said, it's always fun
absolutely,
hanging
sir.
out with you.
It's great.
And
Always good to have a conversation with you.
yeah, Amy got home like 45 minutes ago, hour ago. So I'm
You
gonna go
need to
hang out
go.
with
You need to
her.
go hug her and kiss her.
Yes, I do. Love you, brother.
You too, buddy.
And hugs and kisses, or hugs anyway, from Amy and myself to Beth as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Good
Absolutely.
night.
Have a good night. All right, folks. So that was a good conversation. That was fun. It was a lot of fun. And sometimes we have to, as ridiculous as some people may think that the conversation of aliens is, um, it's more of a thought exercise, and it's an aspect of let's let's go down that avenue. Let's go down the what if, okay? And I just did an entire show for you guys on the what if factor and how we can go down these rabbit holes. I mean, go down these avenues of thought without fully believing them, but also not having cognitive dissonance where we can't have these types of conversations. Alrighty, that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to have this talk tonight, because I knew Jerry was one of those people where he would entertain it. I know his past and his past research, and he would go into it and be honest with what he was when he was thinking, when he was going through it, when he believed it, and I had stories I wanted to tell. I wanted to tell you guys. So, um, it's one of those things where if you believe aliens are real, okay, that's cool. I would eventually in the future like to have a conversation with you. If you don't think they're real, hey, that's cool too. I still want to have a conversation with you. All right. Um, so tomorrow is Saturday, and the dojo will be open at 7 o'clock Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Anybody is willing to is more than welcome to come in and have a conversation about anything. Okay, we can talk about anything. It doesn't matter to me. The point is to create that conversational space where there's not going to be any judgment. And there's a lot of places around the internet, specifically on Pilled, where you don't get that. There's a lot of places where you get judged for having a different perspective. I encourage. I've done this for almost 3 years. I've always encouraged people with different perspectives to come on my show in the dojo and to state their points or to have a conversation. Doesn't matter. I can do both. But it's one of those things where we live in a society where there's not enough of the conversing back and forth, having a dialogue. There's a lot of things hidden behind a keyboard and behind ones and zeros. There isn't enough human interaction. Human interaction, responding to a post, is not necessarily human interaction. That's just responding. This is, and it's a momentary, it's a very, very brief conversation in a great grand scheme of things, of an entire larger conversation. And I think it's important to have the conversation unimpeded in order to move forward as a group of as a people. We have to be able to put some of our differences aside. We have to be at a emotionally mature enough level to where we can have conversations that make us uncomfortable sometimes, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with an uncomfortable conversation. But anyways, I don't want to ramble too far because it is getting a little later. But anyways, a lot of people show up tonight. That's great. I appreciate you guys on the different platforms over on Pilled. I appreciate the conversation back and forth. I saw Peach All is welcome back to the show. I haven't seen you in, you said, 100 and some odd days. That's fantastic. I do appreciate you being stepping in the show and saying hi to us. And again, you've stepped away from the Pilled for a few months, and I'd be curious to hear what you had to say if you'd like to be a guest on tomorrow's show in Peach Mall. But anyways, the dojo is open to everybody, and I mean everybody, lottie dottie, and anybody listening to the sound of voice or can hear my voice or the replays. If you'd like to, I will have the link posted in each of the chats that I have open. Okay, and what I mean, I want to have a conversation with you guys. It's a conversation. It's not a debate. Debates don't really, they have specific purposes, but for the purpose of understanding and connecting and accept a level of acceptance, a debate doesn't do anything. There has to be a conversation first before there can be a debate of ideas, because we have to have a mutual understanding of the person and a mutual respect for the other individual before we can go to debating where it's more of an attack. There's a process to it. But anyways, thank you very much, everyone out there, for being here tonight. And I don't ask for any gold pills. I don't ask for any rumble rants. I don't ask for any monetary value at all. The only thing that I do ask is you share, you turn on your notifications, so that way you know when I'm going live, and that way other people can see what's going on. All right, and that's truly the only way we can. Because I'm not going to take any sponsors. I'm not going to do any of that boosting of my channel. I want it to be word of mouth because then it's original and it's authentic. So again, thank you for your time, people. Time is the one currency that all of us have a very limited amount of, and you chose to spend it here with us tonight. And that means a lot. It really does. So that being said, remember to hug your loved ones. Drink water, all that kind of good stuff. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, I will have the dojo open, so if you guys want to come in and have a conversation. And on Sunday is the return of Disconnect Theater. So Disconnect Theater will be around on Sunday, and I think you guys will like the movies. I'm going to play some older sci-fis and maybe some eye-openers for some people. So look for that. And if you guys have anything you want to send me, if you're on Pilled, you can DM it to me. You just click my name and send me a direct message. Or if you're on the other platforms, or if you are on Pilled and you want to send it to me some other way, you can go to warriorgardener@protonmail.com. Go ahead, and that's where I look at. It's my main email. That's where I look at everything. So I have other accounts, but I haven't looked at them in years. So I don't know if they're even active or not. But anyways, thank you very much. You're welcome, G-Dog. Appreciate your time, buddy. Appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much, everyone out there, and have yourself a wonderful night. I'm not going to send you. It's a Friday night. You decide where you want to go. Okay, you decide where you want to go. Be well. Have a great night. Bye-bye.